Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel, Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are waiting for you in today's video. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to tap like and subscribe, and if you want to support even more, you can hit the join button below. Thank you for being here. Now let's dive in. In the restless heart of Turkish television, where whirlwind romances blaze and fizzle under 1,000 spotlights, a fresh emotional tremor has captured the public's attention and won't let go. At the center of this storm stands Demet Özdemir, a figure known for her calm poise and bright resilience, now caught in the eye of a rumor cyclone that has swirled non-stop for weeks. What started as a soft murmur on fan pages burst into a national discussion when a representative broke the quiet with a message as decisive as a door closing for good: there will be no return this time. The phrase didn't echo, it thundered, spreading across timelines and headlines at once. Instantly, the conversation zeroed in on a story the audience cannot seem to release: the intense, complicated, magnetic bond between Demet and her former co-star, Yaman. One seemingly harmless detail lit the fuse again: both had been spotted at the same private gathering, reportedly by coincidence. That single coincidence was enough to send hope rushing back into the veins of fans who never gave up on a second act for the pair who had made millions swoon on set. Within days, online communities became a hive of speculation and yearning. People slowed videos frame by frame, sifting through glances, silhouettes, reflections in car windows, any tiny gesture that might hint at a rekindled fire. But Demet's team, aware that wishful thinking can become wildfire, stepped forward to stop the blaze before it grew. Her spokesperson, weary of a narrative that circles back again and again, drew a line that felt quiet yet unbreakable. Demet is invested in what lies ahead, in the craft she loves, and in protecting her mental harmony. She does not plan to revisit a chapter she believes has already been concluded. Behind that firm stance, sources describe a more intimate scene, one that feels painfully human. According to those close to the situation, Can recently reached out with a kind note of encouragement, moved by a difficulty Demet was navigating in her personal life. The gesture, kindly meant and thoughtfully phrased, was acknowledged with grace, and with distance. A friend confided that Demet put it into words with serene conviction: "I don't have to step backward to recognize who I am now." It was a line that sounded like a soft bell in a quiet room, gentle yet impossible to ignore. It didn't take long before that sentiment spread, retold and celebrated as a testament to her growth. Some applauded her decisiveness as a breakthrough, a sign that she had learned to take care of herself above all. Others felt their daydreams crumble at the edges. Because the romance between the two may have ended years ago, but the public never stopped thinking of it as a legend of its own, a love born between takes, sustained by millions of fascinated eyes, and molded into a shared myth that outgrew any script they ever performed. The reaction remains divided. Many admire Demet's clarity and cheer for her right to prioritize her peace. Yet a devoted contingent refuses to concede that the bond is beyond repair. "When it's real, it doesn't vanish, it transforms," one wistful follower wrote. Another insisted, "Can should keep trying. Connections like theirs don't come twice." Amid the waves of commentary and conjecture, Demet has retained her calm, almost as if she had rehearsed for this storm long ago. In a recent interview, when the journalist carefully skirted toward the question, the actress offered a delicate smile that balanced warmth and wisdom. Her answer was short, unadorned, but unmistakable: "Sometimes growing up means learning to set something free. Not every road is meant to cross another again." The acceptance in her words sounded whole, even as the ghost of yesterday's tenderness hovered in the pauses between her sentences. Yaman, who generally avoids fanning any controversy, has kept an eloquent silence, one that many find more meaningful than a formal statement. Friends who have seen him lately describe a man caught between respect and ache. "He told me what they shared wasn't ordinary," a close acquaintance admitted, "but maybe it was a story that reached its last page. In sharing that, he didn't look angry or bitter," the friend said, "just tired in a way that grief sometimes looks on people who still care." Then fate, always a mischievous director in their saga, added a new scene. Only hours after Demet's representative drew the boundary with that unwavering message, an unexpected image surfaced online. Can was seen near a restaurant in Üsküdar, the very place where members of the crew from Demet's new series were having a quiet dinner. Eyewitnesses claimed he stayed in his car for a while, staring past the glass at the life moving inside, as if he were listening for answers that only he could hear. The photo, just a man caught in reflection, thoughtful and alone, sped across social media in minutes, reigniting questions as fast as the first report had tried to extinguish them. Do coincidences stack, or do they hint at something unsaid? Industry observers chimed in, suggesting that both are, in their own ways, rebuilding themselves. Demet has reportedly signed with an international production that could expand her career far beyond familiar horizons. Those who know her say she is determined to redefine herself, not just as an actress but as a woman who writes her story without apologizing for its twists. For her, the new path isn't simply about bigger sets or global premieres, it's about ownership of her voice, her time, her boundaries. Meanwhile, Ken has thrown himself into intense filming, the kind of project that demands long nights and longer focus. Co-stars describe a professional on set, disciplined, charismatic, but one who carries a quiet charge when the subject veers too close to the past. They say his expression tightens almost imperceptibly when someone dares to mention her name. At a recent event, a reporter took a chance and asked him about love, not names, just the idea of it. Can's reply turned into an online refrain within hours. There are tales, he said, that never truly conclude, they just freeze somewhere in time. To some, it sounded like poetry. To others, a confession in disguise. A half-open door. An echo from an old hallway. Demet, for her part, has continued choosing tranquility like it's a discipline. Her latest Instagram post glowed with stillness and carried a caption as gentle as morning light. Peace is a decision, too. Thousands took it as proof that she meant every word her representative had shared. She wasn't moving backward. She wasn't standing still either. She was simply walking forward with purpose, one deliberate step at a time. But there's something that even the cleanest break cannot erase, the collective memory of a relationship that became bigger than two people. What Can and Demet created together turned into a symbol that audiences claimed as theirs. It felt less like acting and more like life sneaking into the script. One producer who worked with them in the past summed it up in a soft voice, the kind used for truths that sting. They weren't pretending. It was honest. Maybe too honest for the world that was watching. That sentiment has hovered over the conversation ever since, like a curtain that never quite falls. So where does that leave the story now? Demet's team insists that the page has been turned and won't be flipped back. She is looking ahead, to travel, to new languages, to roles that challenge who she was yesterday. She is said to be reading scripts from abroad, training with coaches, finding a rhythm that is hers alone. And Can, the man many equate with stormy grand gestures and a will of steel, has been keeping to himself between grueling call times, the gym, and endless rewrites. Those who have known him for years say he's more contemplative than before, more careful with his words, like someone who learned the price of saying too much too soon. Still, the public's imagination refuses to let the frame fade to black. If love once lived there, the audience wonders, can it ever truly vanish? Or does it remain in a different form, a memory with a heartbeat, a light that no longer blinds but still warms? The threads of hope and acceptance weave through fan pages and group chats, sometimes clashing, sometimes coexisting. Some are certain that self-respect is the only compass that matters. Others point to the unpredictability of fate, the way it loves to write sequels no one asked for and finales no one believes in. And then there is that night in Üsküdar. The thought of him waiting in the car, eyes tracing faces through glass, won't leave the narrative. Was it nostalgia? A coincidence dressed in drama? Or a silent goodbye that the universe happened to photograph? The image sits like a puzzle piece on a table, close to the final picture, but not quite clicking into place. What everyone agrees on is that both have moved into a season of transformation. For Demet, the focus is on crafting a legacy that doesn't depend on a romantic chapter the world keeps rereading. For Can, it's about channeling emotion into work that demands everything he has without consuming the parts of him that don't belong to the camera. In quieter moments, their paths look like parallel lines, separate, steady, unentangled. And yet the idea of one last curve where those lines might meet again refuses to die in the audience's mind. The industry, of course, watches with its habitual mix of fascination and pragmatism. Executives wonder what their names on the same poster might mean in a year or two. Directors daydream about scripts that could carry them both without rekindling old wounds. Friends whisper yes, others whisper no, and the truth hides in the spaces between. There's an old saying in show business, the stories that endure are the ones that feel truer than truth. Perhaps that's why their narrative won't settle. If what we saw was real, if glances lingered a second too long and laughter came too easily, no amount of official denial can make that vanish from the audience's memory. And if what we saw was performance raised to the power of longing, then maybe we all mistook a flame of craft for a fire of the heart. Maybe. Or maybe both were true at once. Today, the message from Demet's side stands firm: no rewrites, no returns. And yet the air hums with a question that won't quiet down. Can a connection that once seemed unstoppable fade into silence? Or are we merely witnessing an intermission that feels eternal while the lights are low? Perhaps the answer lives with them alone, somewhere off camera, somewhere we can't follow. Until then, we do what audiences do: we remember, we discuss, we wait. Tell me, dear viewers, what do you believe? Has this story closed its final chapter for good, or is destiny rehearsing a scene we can't see yet? Share your thoughts below, trade your theories, and let us know on Secrets Behind the Stars which other Turkish stars you want featured in upcoming videos. If you'd like to support the channel further, hit join and turn on notifications so you never miss an exclusive. Your support is what keeps this community alive. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care, and goodbye.